I've been doing e-commerce for 10 years, which seems like a lifetime. So if we just look at what I've been doing, I hail from the UK, where e-commerce was kind of way ahead of Cambodia at the time. So much so that when I arrived here, I was kind of unique and really struggled to find work in the same sector, hence going on to something else. My background is really on big, large-scale platforms. Probably the biggest that I've worked on turned over £4 billion per year. There were literally hundreds of people working on a website, which is, almost unseen here. I've done lots of stuff in primarily retail, but also done banking and travel. And 5 years of this, again, as Chris said, when we started going through the online commerce 5 years ago, it was still pretty new. I think probably there were 3 online stores at the time, I think. My background is also in technology. I'm a Google Cloud and Amazon partner. And I'm also a business mentor and a startup coach. I coach women in tech. I do some mentoring for 500 startups, and I've done other stuff in the past. And that's primarily where a lot of these questions come from. So I'm going to go into some of the practicalities of what my mentees and businesses bring to me on a day-to-day basis. And some of the lessons that we can learn here in Cambodia, but they do reach elsewhere. So I think probably the biggest one I hear is, let's just build an e-commerce store and visitors will just arrive. And the picture here, as we've seen, this was probably taken in COVID, but that doesn't happen. They don't come. So it's probably the largest mistake that I see organizations make, is really that you really should spend an enormous amount of time testing your proposition before you go ahead and build your website. Websites can kind of get expensive the bigger they are. Test it first, even if it's just putting up a single page, putting a couple of Google ads in, and then putting a buy button, even though you don't necessarily need to have any product on the end of it. And that's kind of my favorite exercise. But, as Chris has just shown us, the opportunity's there, but do your research and do lots of it. And then know your customer, which is kind of next slide. This is the one that all of the startups bring me, is thinking about bricks and mortar stores is nothing like thinking about your online customer and knowing exactly who we are. And I do spend a lot of time, even with existing clients who think they know who their customer is. But it's this digital engagement that Chris spoke about. Is you need to create really detailed profiles of who your customer is, what they do, and particularly about what sort of problem does your website solve for them. What is unique about it? Where else do they go? Why would they come to you? And then thinking about, in terms of delivering your content, is essentially to give them exactly what they want. And as we've seen the spread and certainly the social platforms becoming more and more integrated with e-commerce, you need to follow your customer everywhere and interact with them everywhere, because we've almost got to an instant response in many respects. One of the things I see probably most of here in Cambodia is imitation. If someone talks to me about yet another marketplace selling Cambodian products, I get one almost every week. And really what we need to think about here is how to innovate rather than just essentially just copy what somebody else's successful model. Chris showed the food delivery, and you can look at that business model. It's the same across the board. It's all about the differentiation, because your customers will just as easily migrate somewhere else if they reduce the price, if they have a slightly better offer than you, if their website page loads just a few seconds faster. Really, it's all about giving them the experience that they're looking for within your website or store. And this is an example that I give to some of my mentees and students, is thinking about what you're doing online, what you're developing, your store, your offer in any sector, is thinking about what is unique about you. So the example we use is always something along the lines of, if someone came and had $10 million in their pocket, would they go to their site rather than yours? So it's all about your unique selling point, what it is about what you offer online as something to keep your customers away from your competitors. But it's really, you have to keep innovating. You can't afford to stand still online. And it's all about engagement and this, attracting this customer loyalty such that your visitors come back again and again. This is a really interesting one, is there is so much available out there now. I was talking to someone just a few weeks ago and saying, I can build a website in 24 hours now, probably less than that. There are so many tools, so many options available, none of which are terribly expensive either. For a couple of $100, you can get something up and running. There are so many platforms available and they fit every single budget. So it's quite interesting that people still want to go and develop their own. And particularly if you're going through that prototyping phase, is use the tools that are available. CRMs are $20 a month. The move in terms of databases and stock control and all of these massive email systems, again, it's just $10, $20, $30 a month for some of these things. So take advantage of them. You don't necessarily need to build your own systems. It takes a lot longer and sometimes can not necessarily be the right route. One of the biggest lessons, and again, I think we've mentioned this, is it's not just about looking after your store, it's about looking after your content. You need continuous content, not only products, but engagement, offers, mail, articles that are relevant to your products. It's all about engaging content that is really high quality, that is informative, customer centric. So if you're writing articles about, insurance, for example, you want that to be a high quality piece of information that is valuable to the customer to engage them. And Google knows how long people spend on sites reading information. So it does increase your rankings. So quality, informative, customer-centric content is absolutely essential nowadays to differentiate yourself. There's no way you can just put a few of the same products as everybody else up on your shop and expect to get visitors who are going to come back again and again. And then from the technical perspective is hackers will always go looking. So security, again, a little bit overlooked here in Cambodia, but security is probably one of the biggest issues in terms of, potentially looking after personal data of your clients and the security of your own website. And I'm sure we'll hear some about that later on. Next slide, please. And you're going to need to learn to love Google because, one of the first slides was the empty streets. A website is no good without visitors, and people need to find you. And the most common place for you to find a website is not through social media, is through Google. Google wants to deliver you exactly the content that you're looking for. So your site will need to contain exactly that information. Google just gives you exactly what you're looking for. That's it. So again, as part of the strategy, you need to consider your digital marketing. And for online stores, it's primarily through SEO, potentially through Google Ads, and then the content itself with good tailored search engine marketing and really good, again, back to this, I'll keep repeating that, this high quality content that your visitors are looking for. So you will need to learn all of the ins and outs of Google's. And it does get incredibly expensive. I was talking with a student and, they were looking to advertise for microfinance. It's very competitive. A single click on a Google ad for some of those keywords is $50. So it can get very expensive very quickly. So it's good to understand search engine optimization and what you need to attract visitors. Next slide, please. And then the final thing really is I'm coaching a client at the moment, and we're going through everything in terms of, it's a bit of a numbers game, good quality e-commerce. I've spent years doing this. Our Monday morning meeting was primarily to look at what are the numbers. So how many visitors, which pages have they been looking at, which products did they buy, what's in stock, what's out of stock, how many broken links, how many pages they viewed. It's all about the data. So measure everything and start sooner rather than later, because it's all about the numbers. And that's it, I believe.